Well, hi. So if you're here, you probably are hoping to watch me paint this. And so this is me after I painted it. So I could just show you what it looks like. And I hope that you have fun watching it and that you try painting along perhaps. You can write your own greeting on it and send it to somebody and have a little bit of fun. So I decided to pretend that I had a balsam fir in the back of this truck, and this was a fun sighting. I just love this old truck and the fact that it still runs after all these years, and I hope you have some fun. Let me know if you paint this. Thank you. Hi, everybody. So it's going to be Christmas soon. This will air the week of Christmas, and I wanted to tell you about this man that we met in Thunder Bay last summer, and he had this beautiful truck, a Willys truck from 1951. The company was later purchased by Jeep, so a lot of people will say that's a Jeep, but that is not. It's a Willys truck. And it still runs. He uses it, and he was proud of it and let me photograph it. And what I thought I would do is maybe he has a big white beard, and I thought you can't really see him in the truck, and this is a tiny painting for a card, but I thought I might put a little bit of a red jacket on him. And I was thinking of putting like a Christmas tree in the back. Or I guess you could put some presents, but I would rather do a tree. Anyway, so this is my little drawing here. You can't see it very well, but it's good enough. And I'm going to paint it now. And here's some brushes. Let's see here. We've got, it's called a stroke, but I would just call it a 3/4 inch flat. But I guess it's more, because this is longer, they call it that. Anyway, and it's from Aqua Princeton. This is a 12 round. This is just simply Simmons 10/0 liner. And this is a Princeton Heritage 2. I don't know if I'll use all these brushes, but just to show you, these are I mean, they're not inexpensive maybe, but they're less expensive than natural hair brushes, but I prefer them because I like the bounce and the way they behave. They have spring, and a lot of natural bristles are very floppy, and I don't like that. So anyway, those are some ideas for brushes that are easily accessible at your, arts and crafts stores usually. And then the paper is Arches 140-pound cold press. And I just used some green tape. I don't even know what it's called. And those are my budgies talking in the background. I was going to say they're Pablo and Picasso, but that's not true. They're Pablo and Polly. And the one was a rescue, and the other one was purchased to keep her company. So they're a happy little couple. And now let me see about the paint. So this is Cerulean Blue PB35 from St. Petersburg, White Nights, and it just seems to be the right color. I don't have much of it. I was given some by a friend, and I have some over here. Anyway, then there's Lunar Black because I like the texture it gives, and it's good for the tires and whatnot. Then Perylene Green is going to be for that tree that we're going to paint, and the Pyrrol Scarlet PR 255 from Daniel Smith for the gas can and lettering and hopefully Santa. And then Shadow Violet that I mixed from PB20. I put 28 here, but it's actually 29. PG50 and PV19. It's my favorite little mix that I make up every now and then, and I actually have a lot of fun just mixing it all up with a little toothpick or something until I get the exact right color. So you can buy shadow violets from various companies, but sometimes if you own the constituent colors, it's a ton of fun just to mix your own. All right, so here's one that I did yesterday, and it's getting all cracked, but that's okay. And then I have it for when I need it. All right, let's get started. All right, so it's a sunny day. The shadows don't make sense unless we indicate a blue sky. So I didn't actually plan for that when I was mixing up my paints. Yeah, I don't know. I'll just use some blue that's over here. Let's see here. Doesn't have to be super blue because, oh, that's really a dirty blue. Okay, who knows what I have on my palette. So sometimes I use an old palette that I've used before, but then you never know what you're gonna get. So I guess I forgot to think about that, didn't I? How about if we just wet some of this cerulean blue? Oh, this is from it looks a little fake, but hey, maybe that'll do. So, since the cerulean blue is a light color, I can just paint the whole background with it and not worry, and then paint the tree on top after. One thing about cerulean blue is it's often a bit textured, like it granulates. So if you can't stand that, then you might want to consider a different color. And I'm just working with it pretty dry, but go in with a little more water here because when the paint dries, it leaves lines. So you don't want that to happen, but you want to keep that paint moving and see if you can try to get something of an even wash, which is always a challenge. And we're going to pretend that it's snow. So, run your brush over it a few times, then let it go. And since we're pretending this is snow, I'm just going to go in like that, just with a very dilute amount of paint. Okay? All right, now, there's that. So, I always like to clean my brush, tap it on paper towel, and then afterwards clean it with, whatchamacallit there, some kind of a brush cleaner soap, and then dry them laying flat. And that's how I care for my brushes. So my soap that I have comes in a little tub, and it's called the Masters Brush Soap, I think. All right, now you might not need this bigger brush because we're working kind of small today. It's all kind of small. So I'm just putting some water on my paint because I had some family emergency and all my paint dried up. But you know what? Isn't that the good thing about watercolor? You can go in and paint it when you have time. when life settles down and nothing is too pressing, then just add water and go, because that's how it is. Life is not as we always plan it, is it? Okay, so in areas it's really light because of the sun. Plus, you know, this is a faded kind of powdery blue color that we got going on here. Anyhow, for the most part, I don't know, what would you call it? Maybe baby blue is a good color name. So it's hard to make a very accurate painting when it's so small. You know, but I figured if I painted something small, you might find that easier to tackle, because sometimes we feel like if a painting's too big, it's too much work. So I hope you get inspired to try painting something like this and go to my website and hopefully find a full-length tutorial there. I've been very negligent about working on my website though, so reach out to me on here, comment, and if you need the reference, I'll get it to you. I've been having a frustrating time with the website. So I'm also on Facebook as Northern Impressions by Sarah, and that is the name of my website too. If I can gather my thoughts enough to focus, since I have ADHD among other things, I find focus a little challenging at times, especially when it's something that I find really difficult. And I'm finding that whole website thing almost more than I can handle. But reach out to me on Facebook or here, and we can get you a reference photo. Also share your work. Like if you paint this, I'd love to see it. Okay, so I'm gonna have fun with the shadows because I want to. I mean, you know, who doesn't want to have a little fun? Life's just full of difficulty, so let's have fun when we can. Okay, so I'm just painting this purple shadow, violet shadow. And then I'll go in with black for the areas that I need to. But when you paint with something that's granulating, give it a little bit more water. And the reason for that is that it granulates better if there's a lot of water. Okay, so some of these areas, so I'm making the shadow bigger than it truly really was, just because I want to. Then I'm going in with the Lunar black under these wheel wells because indeed that's very dark. And we'll leave the tires until this dries. Well, we could go in and just do the outside part a little. And then it's just going to bleed a bit right now because everything's wet. All right, now want to just... I added a little lunar black to some blue for the gray boards that are on the back here. They're wood, I think. 3 boards on each side. To me, this truck is just poetic. It's like so cool. I really like old things that still work. I just get quite tickled about them. I'm like, oh, so cool. It still works. It's like 70 some years old. Okay, so the shadow's kind of coming from the back here, and looks like a pretty bright sunny day. Oops. I should really be using that liner, I think, because this brush is difficult to get a really good point on. One trick about liner brushes is that you can roll them in the paint in order to get all the hairs to kind of line up and agree with each other. So I am mixing in a little bit of lunar black with some of the blue for the shadows. You could mix red or orangey red for a complementary color that would neutralize the blue, which is often very nice and looks good. Particularly if you use the red that you're already using in your painting. So my hands are shaky today. And if I haven't told you before, I have Tourette, among other neurobiological disorders, because Tourette is not just one thing. We're lucky that way. Haha. So, some days are good days, some days are bad. My hands are not something I can just rely on to be the same every day. But that's okay. That's life. Right? So this little can has like this mottled appearance because the paint's coming off and all sorts of things. So I just threw some salt on it to try to make that interesting. And here we got our Santa, who's the man who owns the truck, and not actually a Santa. Not wearing a costume either, but I'm gonna pretend because I can. Okay, now here's the mirror of the truck. And there's a shadow of the truck mirror here. And it looks a little funny. And then there's and then he's got sunglasses on, so I don't know if I can make little sunglasses. Okay. Now I'm going to try to make these tires darker. Sorry if I bumped the sound thing. I have a little headset which I do not like to wear. So I just hang it off the mount that holds the camera. Then sometimes I bonk it with my head. Anyway, I hope that you will have a good time with some family and friends and possibly good food over the holiday season. Whether you celebrate this or another holiday, I hope you still have fun and be safe. And maybe one of your safe ways to celebrate can be to dig out some paints. Spend some time just painting. Now I'm adding a little bit of Lunar Black to that shadow under there. And it's kind of fun because, again, with enough water, Lunar Black granulates too. And that's a real fun thing. Now, I'd like to perhaps give it a go with painting a tree. Now, we're going to say that it's like a balsam fir, and it's sticking out the back here. It's so big that it sticks out the end like this. Now, Perylene green does lighten very substantially. In watercolor, we say it has a drying shift. All the Perylene colors do. as far as I know. So, one trick I have with it is if I really want it to be dark, then I just go and add a little bit of lunar black. So that's what I'm doing here. And we call that charging in when we take something that's wet and then we add another color to it. Okay. Now, another cool thing you can do is, yes, this should granulate because it's got lunar black in it, but you could sprinkle a bit of salt in it. It's just table salt. And then you might want to charge in a bit more color because what happens is the salt pushes the pigment away and we want it dark, and so the salt's going to make it light, but it might make it look like there's a bit of snow on it. Anyway, it should be a good effect, but you might want to make sure that you got quite a bit of paint in there. Okay, so we're gonna let that dry, and then I think we could go on to this truck, which needs some sprucing up because it doesn't look very pretty to me. So I'm just going around darkening a few kind of parts, and yeah, generally making a mess of it, I guess, but hey. So there's some red lettering on this truck, which of course is too hard for us to read, but we can kind of just do a few little scribbles because it's there. I'm going to just turn this like this. I hope you can still see, but I have a hard time working at different angles. And you might type the actual word, like write the actual word, but if you do it when it's wet, it all just kind of goes together. And that's okay. So when you put salt in something, you should let it dry on its own without using a hair dryer or anything to dry it. So I'm going to just pause recording and come back to you in a little bit, okay? Okay, so we're back. So what we should do then is... Oh, I thought that was totally dry. Okay, don't make the same mistake. Oh my. What a mess. Okay. All right. So the tree does look like it has a bit of texture, doesn't it? So that's good. Now we gotta put the handle of the gas can in. And then there's the strap holding the trash can, or the gas can. So now I think we need to just delineate the lines here a little bit better. Excuse me. I feel that I would like to splatter snow on here. I don't think that you have to make things terribly realistic. So, I guess if it's your card and you feel like splattering snow on it, you can. Don't you think? Alright, now I did forget to put some color on these hubcaps. Excuse me. And of course there's shadows there to be dealt with too, but for now, I'm thinking of changing, sorry, the color of the car a little bit, or the truck, because it looks too much like the background. So I'm just going to go and slap in some of this cobalt turquoise color. It does have a bit of a green to the blue. And makes it look a little more interesting, I think. Try to make a slight pink tone for the face of the Santa. Although, of course, he's in shadow, so really, that doesn't look like that. But anyway, whatever. I'm going to put a little bit dark in here. All right. So, I think our truck's getting a little less realistic as we go, but hey. Okay. Well, what do you think of splattering it with some snow? So, using a toothbrush, an old toothbrush that nobody uses anymore, which you just keep in your drawer and clean in between uses, works quite well. And I mixed some titanium white with some interference silver over here, and just kind of go like that and see what happens. Okay. I kind of like it. What do you think? All right. Now we let that dry, and then I want to put in some more shadows for the little more definition for the hub caps or wheel wells or whatever they're called. On the other hand, we don't have to wait for it to dry, do we? We could just kind of go in there with a bit of shadow color, gray, blue. And some of these shadows don't make the perfect sense anymore because we've pretended that it's snowing. But hey. It's not a masterpiece. A painting on a card to make somebody smile, right? Okay. So we're going to let that dry and come back after it's dry. Oh, one more thing. I sort of think that this has to have a wee bit more shadow. So just tap that in there. Right, we're going to let that dry and come back. I wrote Merry Christmas with my own handwriting. Your own handwriting is plenty good enough. I just used a Preppy, which is a fountain pen that's disposable, in order to write that. And then carefully peel off your tape and making sure that you pull it sideways. And if it's particularly sticky, see how some of the paper came off there? You heat it up first, and that helps to remove the tape without harming the paper. But pulling it sideways helps to minimize the tearing of the paper. And then you can see that I just used regular cardboard for this. Okay, let's see. So because I taped down that paper, I think it looks pretty nice like this. So this is just an 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock, and if you like the color, you can then use some double-sided sticky tape to put it on. I think I'm gonna go look for red. Red would make me happy because it would match this stuff. Okay, and then I'll show you the finished product in a bit. All right, so paint it, have fun, put your own greeting on it, and send it to somebody. They'll be tickled. Oh, and don't forget to sign it somewhere. I forgot to. So, yep. I think we're recording. It's Sarah here. So I want to wish you a Merry Christmas. I hope you have fun with your family. I might do one more video over the holidays. I will try, but I need to focus on some other things because I don't even have my Christmas decorations up. But anyway, look, here's the card that we made. So by taping it down with about 1/8 of an inch of, of the watercolor paper covered by the tape, you do have a nice white border then when you take it off. And then you can just mount it on some cardstock, and then you can put your greeting and sign it on the inside. Don't forget to put your little signature on your painting, and take some pictures and post them to share, because I'd love to see if you give this a go, if you paint yourself a little Willys truck from 1951 with Santa and a tree. I would love to see. All right, take care.